George Soros and Obama, along with Al Gore. I have the article here. Fox News. Climate Fund seeks UN-style diplomatic immunity. Now they want to get diplomatic immunity and call it environmental, all these scams. Okay, I've gotten off into the Corzine situation. Coming up in the next segment, I'm going to get into the Black Panthers basically calling for race war in this country over the Trayvon Martin case. And doesn't that just play into the globalist hands, this whole divide and conquer situation? I'm going to give you my take on that. Also, the Hunger Games. I haven't seen the film, but I have read some synopses of it, and it's basically more eugenics, globalist brainwashing. It's broken all-time records for a first weekend, 214 mil. I'm going to be breaking that down. Also, Obama visiting a place that he admires, the DMZ, looking across with binoculars at a place that he loves, the only other country in the world where the dictator president openly says he can secretly arrest people and have them disappear. Nazi Germany didn't put it on paper. They just did it secretly. Communist Russia didn't do it. They just did it secretly. Mao Zedong didn't do it. He just did it secretly. Only North Korea says they'll secretly arrest and kill whoever they want on paper. Until now. 2 weeks ago, China passed their own secret arrest and killing of dissidents law, modeling it after the NDAA. In fact, folks won't believe that. Will you search engine, China passes indefinite detention for dissidents bill? It was Reuters. And it said they were very proud of it. See, America can't be the moral high ground now and say things are wrong, torture and things, because the foreign banks run by Corzine and others that have hijacked our country, just ruthless criminals. I mean, it's an admitted banker coup over Europe run by Goldman Sachs. Former head of Goldman Sachs, Corzine, just takes billions of people's private money, lies and says, I was the CEO, I don't know where it went. The government, all run by his former minions, says, well, we don't know where it went. Folks, I went to deposit like $12,000 a few years ago in my bank account because I'd sold a car. And they filled out a suspicious persons thing on me and asked me questions. And I looked at them and I said, you even know who I am? They said, yeah, we just do this on everybody. That's America. Total police state. But the big banks can launder $378 billion in just 2 years. It came out last year in narcotics money and not get in trouble. Well, they got caught finally because people blew the whistle inside. And they got a 1.3% fine. Be like if I robbed a bank for $1 million and they said, well, give me a couple thousand, oh, sure, officer, I'll do that. But, the point is, this is lawlessness. That's what the new world order is. Yeah, here it is. China Parliament unveils dissident detention powers. China's Parliament unveiled legislation Thursday solidifying police powers to hold dissidents in secret, prompting an outcry from activists and human rights watchers worldwide. The ruling Communist Party, however, reiterated that the most draconian part of the rules for one kind of detention, residential surveillance, which were proposed last year. And, of course, when you disappear, nobody knows where you went, you die. In fact, our government goes further. They put on paper they'll kill you in a dungeon. The Chi-Coms don't do that because we're land of the free, home of the brave. Sorry, I was digressing. What is the New World Order? It's 6 big mega banks that aren't free market that are waging war against all other real corporations, private property, families, national sovereignty, anything that stands in their way. They want lawlessness on their part. They have it set up where they're globally exempt, and already the IMF, World Bank had diplomatic immunity. They're just holding companies for private 6 banks. Federal Reserve has diplomatic immunity. The UN, they're always caught dealing drugs, kidnapping children, raping people, diplomatic pouches full of cocaine and heroin, sex slaves chained up in their house, dead bodies in trunks. You see it every few weeks. UN people, cops pull them over, they punch the cop in the face, nothing the police can do. Cops do something, get fired. This is what we're talking about. And it's like, how did the UN get this immunity? Well, they just said they had it because the mega rich want it. And talking to a Rockefeller, the late Aaron Russo, a famous Hollywood director of Eddie Murphy movies, you name it, did production and stuff for, helped bring to the United States groups like Led Zeppelin. The point is, I had that interview with him when he was in Houston dying of cancer, where he went ahead and gave me the photo, everything, where he met with one of the Rockefellers. He was just in business with them. And they openly said, don't worry, this is 20 years ago. We're all going to get microchips, and ours are going to say, kiss my rear end. The elites are, and they can just drive right through, and their face scan will say that nobody can touch them. They'll have global world government immunity. And that was the offer to Aaron. Join us, get out of the Constitution Party that he started. Don't be part of this, and you will be given, and your entire family, a get-out-of-jail-free card. Now, I already knew that was the plan, but here it was directly from a Rockefeller, Nick Rockefeller in that case. This is Fox News. Climate Fund seeks UN-style diplomatic immunity. And I went and looked it up. The Climate Fund is private. Who created it? Ken Lay of Enron, 1995 with Al Gore. Who's involved? Obama makes money. Go look it up. The Queen of England's invested. The Rothschild family. The Rockefellers are invested in it. They own it. And there's a deal where globally all the money goes through this Rothschild bank. And when you do anything, you pay part of it in a carbon tax on carbon dioxide that you exhale. Now, get this. The Chicago Mercantile Exchange runs this in the United States. And they're trying now to give themselves diplomatic immunity for this new global currency. They're calling the money from this, when they make you pay a global tax into private companies, because private groups make the money, but government enforces it, that they can't be sued and they can do whatever they want globally. Now you can look up even the New York Times in Uganda and in areas of Central America, not just Africa. The UN goes in and slaughters people that own their own land to make it a carbon sink as part of this. I mean, this is on record. And they're announcing diplomatic immunity. Listen to this. Climate Fund seeks UN-style diplomatic immunity. The Green Climate Fund, which is supposed to help mobilize as much as $100 billion a year to lower global greenhouse gases, it's just a tax to them. You pay them a tax on it. It's already on airlines. There's not even a law. It seeks a broad blanket of UN-style immunity that would shield its operations from any kind of legal process. In any kind. Again, above the law, including civil and criminal prosecution in the countries where it operates. This is just one problem. It's not part of the UN. Well, why does the UN have that? Whether the fund, which is formally created by the UN Climate Conference in Durban, South Africa last December, will get all the money it wants to spend, is open to question in an era of economic slowdown and fiscal austerity, which they say they want to do, a post-industrial world. That's Agenda 21. That's their plan. It goes on. A 24-nation interim board of trustees for the Green Climate Fund is slated to hold its first meeting next month in Switzerland to organize the fund's secretariat and to get it running by November. And they admit in the documents it is a global government tax hooked into the SDR. When I mail U.S. Postal overseas to customers that order books and videos and InfoWars, it's already in SDRs. This is the global government takeover with immunity for these criminals. And we are back. Thank you for joining us on this live Sunday transmission. It is 4:33 Central Standard Time today. 5:33 Eastern. I guess that'd be 2:33 Pacific. 3:33 Mountain, or whatever time zone you're in. What does that calculate out to in Greenwich Mean Time or Imperial? We are back live here. Let me just mention some of the other headlines in case I don't get to them ahead of Lindsey Williams with the latest on that big pipeline. You know, it was hidden in Obama's statements this week that they're only going to allow part of the pipeline to be completed and not the other part. So it's just another cynical action. And again, Bloomberg reported a few months ago that it's Warren Buffett who will now make the big profit shipping that oil to the west coast of Canada to have it shipped out to Asia. That's where already 80% of the Alaskan oil goes. Well, that's where most of the Canadians are going to go. All part of the economic espionage against this republic. Now, speaking of that, that's what Agenda 21 is stated to do. Go read it on the UN's own website. They just hope you don't and call people conspiracy theorists that talk about it. But it's global government run by 6 megabanks that you pay carbon taxes to at your state, county, federal level, and then a large portion is then paid to them. You pay on oil at the wellhead, and then again when it reaches the country, and then when it reaches your pump, you pay then in yearly fees just to have a car, carbon taxes. You pay for your electricity, carbon taxes. People already pay private companies. It's like a carbon indulgence, so I guess they won't go to hell. 500 years ago, people would pay the Vatican to get their family, they would think, out of purgatory. They would call it an indulgence. Oh, here's extra money, or they would buy, things from the local church, and they would tell them, do this, and you get your family out of purgatory, and maybe keep them from going to hell. Well, now you just pay Al Gore that money, while they genetic engineer and butcher the planet and toxic waste dump and all this other garbage. They have you worried about carbon dioxide, while China has no restrictions, but we're shut down. So overall output's increasing too. But never mind that. They're going to have diplomatic immunity now from criminal prosecution when they come to your town and city through the new rural affairs system under Homeland Security. Oh, and you think I'm joking? Just wait. Here is the Washington Post. Homeland Security's morale is at code red. And they go through and break down the fact that they have the lowest morale recorded in the federal government, and they hate their job. Well, this is a total fraud. Homeland Security are the ones that helped get the underwear bomber on the plane on record. Homeland Security are the ones that blocked the military from stopping Hassan. Homeland Security runs al-Qaeda. Homeland Security is caught shipping narcotics in and guns into Mexico to blame the Second Amendment. Homeland Security is the foreign banker agency receivership arm over our federal government. Just like you saw 3 weeks ago when they came in and told Congress, Secretary of Defense, Panetta, he said, we take our orders from NATO and the UN. And they said, no, you take it from the Congress, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11. And they said, no, we don't. And 5 times Senator Sessions said, you must retract that. And they said, no. And the military brass eyes gleamed behind Panetta. And then they got up and said, no, we take our orders from the UN. And there's the little castrated Congress just rolled over. Sure, legislation got introduced to begin impeachment for that, but the corporate prostitute media never covered it. Keeping you in darkness. They love it. Because truth is so much stranger than fiction. Speaking of Agenda 21 and the UN takeover, here is CBS News, New York. After everyone, including bicyclists, 50 cents for bikes, more surcharges on cabs, part of gridlock sham plan. New York has passed more than 80 taxes the last 3 years to pay tax money to the bankers who were propping up and too big to fail. And under Agenda 21, they're going to not just tax your car. This is all Agenda 21. We told you this years ago. But they're going to tax you to ride bicycles and walk. In fact, we've had experts on covering this. We have an excellent book in the online video bookstore at Infowars.com called Behind the Green Mask, Agenda 21. You might want to read it. It's got all the documents in it. You might want to get it to your city council members. But the point is that the Traffic Commission has a new plan to put tolls on East River bridges, but this proposal has some selling points, novel selling points, including a first-ever toll for cyclists. I want to explain something to everybody here. They say you'll have a transponder on your bike. You won't be allowed to pay cash. Of course, that'll track you everywhere as well. But I want to explain something. In the 1920s, there were court cases, you can look them up, that they would sell the public on, hey, there's trucks on the road tearing up the concrete roads we're building for your cars and horses. They're taking commerce